Yato yato nishcharati. Our minds, they tend to be disturbed. Not only that, manaschanchala mastiram, but also distracted and distant. Poetically, our minds are often compared to a mriga. A mriga generally is an animal, specifically is a deer. When you see a deer in the wild, as soon as you approach it more closely, as soon as you step on a branch, what does that deer do? Gone. Correct? But remember, our minds are faster than a mriga. If I say Costa Rica, you're all there right now, correct? See how fast. And that's why Shri Krishna is sharing here. I've given you another form of alliteration. Our minds are disturbed from the outside, distracted from the inside, and generally distant. Distant from Vedanta, distant from being honest. So what should we do? To deal with the disturbed mind, simplify. Simplify your lifestyle. The more simple you become, the less the complexity that causes disturbance. How to deal with the distracted mind? Use parameters. Quite often I've shared about unitasking. Here I'm defining this even more. Use parameters that while you're doing this, you will not do this. That you'll only do this for this amount of time. You're putting in parameters so that the mind is trained to be kept here. It's like those fences that some homes have where the dogs can't go past that fence. And as that dog matures, it doesn't need that collar. It knows it shouldn't go past here. Use parameters in your life. How to deal with a distant mind, one that is dull and deflects self-development. Practice Mona. Be with your mind more. Develop a relationship with the mind. When we ignore the mind, it naturally cannot be trained in being reflective. But if you're only with your mind, the way to find enjoyment and happiness is to start to reflect. I've shared with all of you, I have practiced Mauna for more than 1,000 hours. That's in a formal setting, as in with retreats and so on. This is very important. Through such training, the mind will become Shuddhata, which means balanced. Ekagrata, focused. And sukshmata, which means reflective. That should be the purpose of your day, your week, your month, your life. Tatastato niyam yetad. From whatever is causing the mind to be like this, bring the mind back. The mind will not become better if you don't train the mind. When you find the mind is being wild, focus on Dhamma. Just make the body calm. When you feel this strength, then work with the mind. Shama. Make the mind quiet. When you feel even stronger, then Uparama. Make the intellect still. Are you feeling me? Tonight, when I play soccer, when I have a lot of energy, I can play forward and defense. But when I'm not energetic enough, I just play defense. So we have to know that about our equipments too. But the buildup is for Dhamma, Shama, Uparama, because the last quarter, Atmani eva vasham nayet, we have to be directed to the Atma. That is called samadhana. Samadhana means to absorb these equipments in existence, to absorb the ego in existence. They have to be trained. I want you to visualize this in one more way. Samadhana, which is contemplation, which is changing your identity, is like a sacred fire. An ordinary fire can burn, let's say, paper. But if you want to burn a virus, that flame has to be different, hotter, more specific. Yes? Now, what do we want to burn? That which is burning us, which is the ego. And that ego has to be held in this sacred fire. And in holding it, all that we are using for joy right now will fall away. Remember, I told you Achyuta is the one who never falls from you. In contemplation, you have to let all that will fall from you to fall in this sacred fire. And letting it fall will be that sadhana, will be that methodology for us to let it be then. What is not going to be burned, what is not going to fall, is being. Was that poetic or practical for you? We continue. Verse 27. Prashanta manasam yenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham. The second quarter, yoginam, the one who's not a yogi anymore, they are yukta. They've practiced verses 24 and 25. Whatever held them back in verse 26, they've dealt with that. So in verse 27, sukham uttamam. They are not creating joy. Shared differently, they're not postponing joy. We do that a lot, that if this happens, I will be happy. That's all postponing. In Vedanta, we call this bhavaroga, a disease of becoming. But for the one who has been trained, has completed contemplation, they know joy. Not only that, they're established in joy. And so they're not becoming, they're being. How did this happen? Prashanta manasam, their minds are quiet. And this is symbolic for so much more. Deals, joy, happiness, train ourselves all day, all night, become quiet. Checking in again. Can you hear me and see me? Okay. When our ideal is joy, we will do all that is required for the mind not just to be shanta, but prashanta. Shanta means the mind is quiet because the context is quiet, like right now. Prashanta, that the mind is quiet irrespective of context. Practically, there's a saying, keep calm and carry on. Have you heard that saying before? See, if you have the ideal for joy, you will keep calm and carry on, correct? This happened. It happened. Keep moving. That happened. It happened. Keep moving. You do not sell your quietude. What else? In the third quarter, upaiti shanta rajasam, they have made their rajas shanta. In other words, they have nullified, they have dissolved this sense of aggressiveness. And relatedly, Brahma Bhutam, they're feeling this sense of, I want joy, I need joy. So, akalmasham, they have nullified, they have dissolved any tamas, this sense of laziness. Let me share this with you in a visual. Visualize a stream near your home post a rainfall. Then when you look in that stream, the sediment is mixed with the water, correct? Are you all seeing that brownish water flowing? Okay. The rajas here, or aggressiveness, is the flow of water. And someone who's practiced karma yoga, that flow has become quiet. But there's still sediment there. So what do? Because you want to see the clarity, this sediment, that is the tamas. The tamas is the laziness, that I don't deserve to be happy. That is dealt with through jnana yoga. That dirt, there's a purification there. So what this whole verse is teaching us is we have to move from tamas to rajas to sattva. And that is why in chapter 2, verse 45, I shared with all of you, nitya sattva staha. all that we do has to be sattvic. But if you open up this word, it's sattva, which means like sat. Sat means joy. So all that I do should be for joy, so that all that I am is aligned with joy. Nitya sattva staha. Lots of content, lots of symbolism, instinctively sharing a practice with all of us as you go about making decisions in your life. Try to live by the maximum. Maximum happiness for maximum people, for maximum time, in maximum ways. If your day is like this, when you contemplate, contemplation will be natural for you. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh. 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 Appreciate. Relax. Enjoy. Chant. inquire. The first equipment that is covering the spirit. This is the intellect, or the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana is a knowledge that has been internalized. This becomes wisdom or insight. The contemplator or dhyata, this is the ego. The untrained ego doesn't even sense the spirit, leave alone see the spirit. In contemplation, the ego is to see the spirit hence the visualization of flowing water. When one's trying to see themselves in flowing water, this is not possible because of the flow. This is rajas, aggressiveness. A lifestyle of karma yoga stops the flow. There is still dirt in the water. I cannot see myself. The dirt is removed by a vision of jnana yoga. Karma yoga quietens, jnana yoga purifies. Dhyana yoga is when the ego sees the spirit. The ego is made prashanta or sattva. The ego is brought closer and closer and closer to the source of joy, to Sat. This closeness of the ego and the spirit. Be there. Let it be. Through momentum, which is more accurately described as grace. The ego will be absorbed into the spirit. This yukta or absorption is felt as sukham uttamam. Uttamam, independent. Sukham, joy. Let the ego be with the spirit. Let it be. Let it be. Shanti, shanti, shanti.